Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another GameMaker tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a top-down shooter bullets. And this is a small little example of what it's going to look like. So we can fire bullets like this, and they fire really fast. And whoops, I didn't mean to click outside the view. And we can destroy these targets like this. Now the point of this example is to show you guys how to do basically a bullet that is instantaneous, because if you have bullets that are just moving really fast, sometimes they can kind of go through objects without actually hitting them. This won't have that problem. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope this stuff opens over here fine. Looks like it's going to. So I've got, if you ordered the hard copy of the book, check out the Kickstarter because I posted an update on the hard copies. That's moving along. I've been ordering prototypes, and that's kind of at the stage that I'm at right now, is trying to get a solid prototype that doesn't look weird and that has correct margins and correct text sizes and everything. So that's where the book is. If you're interested in my book, then you can check out the link in the description. So let's start by creating some sprites. We're going to call this sprite player. And we're going to make a new sprite. I'm just going to do 32 by 32 for now. And I'm going to get this light gray right here. And I'm going to drag this. Oops. Just select, select the circle with this one so it doesn't do what mine did. And just hit center. There we go. We're going to create another sprite. We're going to call this one sprite target. Edit the sprite. And let's do this one just red. Like this. Sweet. Center that one. We're going to do another sprite. We'll call this one sprite wall. Edit sprite. 32 by 32. I'm just going to use this dark gray. Should work fine. And I'm just going to leave that one 0, 0. Don't need to center it. Then we're going to do another one called sprite gun. Oops. Gun. We're going to edit this sprite. We're going to make it a height of 4 and a width of 64. And then we're going to come over to use the light, use the same color that we did for the player. And we're going to come, I don't know, maybe that far. I don't know. Then you can center that one as well. So yeah, that just, it's kind of hard to see. I've got that right there. That kind of shows it to you better. I need this to be transparent though. Okay, and then we're going to create one more sprite, and this is going to be just a mask for our bullets. Sprite bullet mask. Edit the sprite. I'm just gonna make this 4 by 4, and the color doesn't necessarily matter. It's just gonna be like this little plus type thing, and I'm gonna center that as well. Now it's time to create some objects. So let's start with the, let's see. Let's start with the target and the wall, since they don't actually do anything. Just create 4 objects. Click this 4 times and click 4 objects. So let's go to the first object. We'll name it object player. We'll give it the player sprite. Then we'll go to the second object. We'll name this one object target. Give it the target sprite. Go to our third object, object wall. Give it the wall sprite. And then our final object, technically I did those in the wrong order. We'll call this one object bullet. No, let's call it object shot. Okay. And this one won't have a sprite, but it will have a mask of the sprite bullet mask. Sweet. We've got our 4 objects. Let's create a room now because we need a room to put these objects in. We'll call this room 1. And I'm going to make it 640 by 360. I'm going to give it a background just to help us see this easier. I'm going to give it a background of like let's do a brown color. It'll be like dirt. That looks good. And I'm going to go get this wall object and I'm going to create some walls. Real quick. Something like this, I'm thinking. Maybe one there. And maybe there's one there, like that. I don't know. That's good enough. Now I'm going to put the player right here, I guess, and we'll put some targets in the room. We'll put one here, one here, one here, one there. Okay. That looks good. Now we've got, okay, so the brown color actually doesn't look that good. It needs to be, I don't know, darker maybe, and maybe more orange a little bit. So let's do, that doesn't look good actually. To be a little bit redder. I don't know, whatever, that's good enough. It kind of looks ugly. Okay, let's go into our player and let's start programming. Let's set up the basic movement for the player first. So add a create event. Drag over some code. We're going to initialize the player. This isn't the most important part of the video because we're not actually doing the bullets. This is just movement and stuff. So we're going to have a direction. That's the direction the player's aiming. We're going to have a horizontal speed, which I'm just naming H speed. We're going to have vertical speed. We're going to have a speed. I'm going to set that to 4. We're going to have a shot delay. This is how long that the game waits in between shots when you're holding down the mouse button. We're going to have a variable called vary, which just equals 1, and that's basically the variance of the accuracy of the bullets. So the bullets will kind of vary a little bit. They won't always go the exact same direction. And then we're going to set alarm 0 equal to 0 because we'll be using that alarm. So add the alarm 0, and just add a comment. Here is a comment. It's better to actually make this descriptive. So bullet delay alarm. That way we can see it right here. We know what this alarm does. Add a step event now. And this is where things get, well, let's add the draw event first because it's a little bit less complicated. So add a draw event, drag over a code. And in this one, we're just going to do draw the player and the gun. Draw self, draw sprite ext, sprite gun 0 x y 1 1 dir c white. And there's actually another argument which is alpha value, and that's just going to be 1. Sweet. Now let's add in the movement. We're gonna do the movement and the actual shooting separate, just so that you can see which is which. So let's add in a code. Call this move the player. H speed equals keyboard check ord D, because we're going to use the D key, minus keyboard check ord A. Okay. So if we're pressing the D key, then this is going to be equal to 1. If we're pressing the A key, it's going to be equal to -1. If we're pressing both of them or none of them, it's going to be equal to 0. V speed equals well, let's copy this because it's going to be the same. except we're going to use the S key and the W key. Now we need, yeah, that's good for now. Now let's do if not place meeting x plus h speed y object wall. So if there's not a collision with the wall at the horizontal speed, like basically where we want to move, except this should be times speed, then x plus equals h speed times speed. And copy this because we'll do the same thing only with the y. So copy and paste this, but this is going to be v speed instead of h speed. V speed and y. Okay, movement is done. Yeah, let's run that, make sure it works, make sure we can move around in the room. Can't move up and down, so it's a good thing I checked that. Come into our step event. V speed equals keyboard check ord S. What did I do wrong? There's W and S. And that looks exactly right. Let me look at my reference code. If not place meeting x, y plus v speed times speed, v speed times speed, object wall, y plus equals v speed times speed. Ah, I spelled v speed wrong. There we go. VSPD. Yeah. Typical. I should probably use a different, I don't know, that's such an easy thing to do. But okay, now we can move around. Everything works great. Sweet. That background color is driving me nuts. Let's make it green. Seriously, green is probably going to look better. Dark green. Yeah, that looks better. Doesn't look great, but it's better. Okay. So now let's add in the firing. So we're going to use kind of a basic. This code is just going to check for a wall, basically, or a collision, I guess. So we're going to create. We're going to access the dir variable here. Point direction x y mouse x mouse y. This is just to make the gun point towards the mouse. Now we're going to have a variable called fire. This is if we're shooting. Fire equals mouse check button MB left and alarm 0 is less than or equal to 0. So if we're pressing the mouse button and the alarm is less than or equal to 0, then fire is going to be equal to true. Let's throw a little if statement down here. If fire, so if we're firing, reset the alarm. We're going to do alarm 0 equals shot delay. And then we're going to do our, it's basically kind of like ray casting. We're going to do our check. Find target, we'll call it that. Var, I'm going to create a bunch of temporary variables here. var temp dir equals our current our actual direction plus random range negative vary. So that's just going to add the slightly different the little bit of randomness to the shot's direction. Var temp x equals x plus length dir x 48 temp dir. And we're going to do this exact same thing, only with a y. So length dir x and length dir y convert an x and basically it converts a distance, which we're using 48 as our distance, and a direction, which we're using the temporary direction, into an x and y coordinate. So basically we can give it a distance and direction, and it's going to spit out coordinates for us, x and y coordinates. And these coordinates, the reason we're doing x plus length dir and y plus is because they're going to be relative to our current position. Now we're going to do var start x equals temp x, var start y equals temp y. We're just grabbing a reference to the very first location that the bullet, basically where the bullet gets fired from. This is the from reference, and we're storing them in start x and start y. Now we're going to do a collision check. Var collision equals position meeting. Now we want to use position meeting instead of place meeting. Place meeting uses your current sprite to check if there's a collision there, if there's a meeting there. Position meeting just uses an x and y coordinate, the exact pixel. And the reason we want position meeting is because we want to go right up to the target or right up to the wall. We don't want to have there be any sort of a distance. If you were to use place meeting, it would work, but it wouldn't seem like it was quite hitting the wall or quite hitting the target. This will go right up to it. So place meeting, temp x, temp y, object wall, right? Or position meeting. Position meeting, temp x, temp y, object target. Okay, so we've got our collision variable. We're going to do while, a while loop, while we're not colliding, collision, and distance to point temp x. Whoops, I needed parentheses there. Temp x, temp y is less than room width. Now, why am I doing this? Well, basically, I have an extra parentheses. Basically, we need a distance check because what if there's no wall? Well, this is going to step. So what we're doing here is we're going to do a while loop that steps along an angle. So imagine we've got an angle right here on the screen, and we're stepping along each point of that angle. If there's never a wall there, we'll step off for forever. So we have a distance check right here in our while loop, this distance to point, just to make sure we don't step off for forever with our bullet. This will go outside the room, but will never go farther than the room width. And that just keeps us from getting into an infinite loop, basically. We're going to do temp x plus equals length dir x 4, because we're going to add 4. If you have objects that are smaller than 4 pixels, then you'll have to do a smaller one, but this will optimize it a little bit. There's no reason to do 1 pixel at a time. We can do 4 pixels at a time. In fact, you could probably do 8 temp dir, but we'll do 4. It looks good with 4. Temp y plus equals length dir x 4 temp dir. So we're adding to our temporary x and y coordinate. Now we need to do, this is kind of a little bit ugly, but it works. We need to reset our collision using the new temporary x and temporary y variables, and that's important. Okay, so once we've done our while loop, at the end of this while loop, temp x and temp y will be equal to the position of either the wall or the target that we ran into. So we're going to create our shot object. We're going to do var shot equals instance create temp x temp y object shot dot start x equals start underscore x equals start underscore x shot dot start underscore y equals start underscore y. So inside of this object, start x and start y are these temporary variables which we have up here, which are a reference to the original position of the shot that was fired. Inside of our shot object, they're going to be instance variables that we'll create, and we're just passing these values into the shot object like this. Sweet, that part is done. We now need to go create our shot object. So let's drag that down. Let's add a create event. And this object's pretty easy. Initialize the shot. We're going to do start x equals 0, start y equals 0. So those are the variables that we need to have in order to pass those values into this object. Now we're going to have a step event. This is going to make the shot disappear. So we're going to do if image alpha is greater than 0. So the alpha value is just the transparency of the object. So if we are transparent, image alpha minus equals 0.3, I don't know. Else instance destroy. So basically once we're invisible, we destroy ourselves. But while we're not invisible, we go invisible. Now we're going to create a collision event with the targets, and we're just going to do destroy the target with other instance destroy. And finally, we need to draw the shot. And we're going to use a couple tricks for this. So just do draw. First thing we're going to do, draw the shot. We're going to set the blend mode. This will allow us to have the shot kind of blend in with whatever background we have. So draw, set, blend mode, BM add. We're going to use an additive blend. Now we're going to just set the image alpha. Draw, set, alpha to image alpha. Now we're going to set both of these back after drawing the shot. So we're going to set this back to BM normal. If you don't set this back, it'll try and draw everything at these. So, and then we'll set this back to 1. And now let's actually draw the shot. So I'm going to add a little bit more room here, and we're going to do draw line width color start X, which is the original spot that the shot was fired from. Start Y. Then we're going to do X and Y, which is our current location, which is where we were created, so the end of the trajectory. And then we're going to do a width of 2, because I think that looks good. We're going to do, the first color is C gray. This is going to create a gradient across the line. And then we're going to do C white for the second color. You might actually do C dark gray here. That might look good. So let's try it. Hopefully we got everything right. Hopefully we typed everything right. There are no typos, so we don't get error messages. Oh, that's not what we wanted, for sure. So the shot looks great. The drawing of it, it doesn't actually work because it's creating it in the wrong spot, which means something inside of this, where we're actually finding the target, is wrong. So let's look at it. We're setting our alarm, that's good. We're getting the temporary direction, and it's dir temp dir equals dir. Am I updating the direction? Yep, I'm updating the direction right here, so that's good. Then we're doing x plus length dir x, temp y equals y plus length dir y. That looks good. Start x, start y, those look good. Collision, temp x, temp y object, temp x, temp y target, or wall and target, those look good. While collision, here it is. I've got length dir x twice. This should be length dir y. That's what happens when you copy and paste code. So make sure that this is x and this is y. And it's very common to get mistakes like that in your code, so you just kind of have to step through it. You can compare with my code, or just look through it, make sure it's working. And there we go, it's firing the shots, and that actually looks pretty cool. And we can shoot these targets. And if we hold down the button, it will continue to fire. And there you go. So there is bullets in a top-down shooter game where the bullets are instantaneous. You don't actually see them travel across the room. And this can create a really cool effect for your game because, I mean, bullets in real life basically are instantaneous. I mean, compared to what we can actually see, it just seems instantaneous to us. So it's kind of cool to have that in your game. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure and like and favorite this video if it was helpful to you. Share it on Twitter and subscribe to me if you haven't already. I have some big news coming up that's pretty exciting, so you guys are going to be surprised when I announce that, and I expect that to be, I don't know, within the next couple of weeks that I'll be announcing that big news. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss any of my next few videos because I might announce that news in one of the next videos. So in fact, I will announce it in one of the next videos. So just you know, keep an eye on my channel. But thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.